guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be talking about space book recommendations for beginners. In case you missed it, I host a space-themed readathon that we call GALAXYATHON. This year it is happening on March 6th. It's a 2-week readathon, all themed around books set in space, about aliens, and all that kind of jazz. I know that sci-fi can be intimidating for a lot of people, especially ones that are set in space, so I thought I would put together a quick little beginner's video. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys. I really love space books and sci-fi, and I feel like a lot of people make them more intimidating than they are. I feel like they're a lot easier to follow than most fantasy books because it's still set in our world as the base for the most part, but there is just advanced technology and things like that. So I think that's a little easier to follow than like an entirely new world with new rules and magic and systems and things like that. So it's a lot less intimidating than you think. If you guys want to check out the video for my GALAXYATHON announcement, I'll link it up in the cards as well as down below in the description, along with a bunch of other space themed videos and recommendation videos. I'll have more coming out as the readathon comes closer as well. But for now, we're going to talk about some spacey reads for beginners. I do want to preface that most of these are young adult reads. I feel like if you're new to space books and you're okay with young adults, that is the best way to get into them. I actually haven't read a ton of adult reads. I think I have maybe one in this stack. But I wanted to give you a heads up before we dive fully in. Okay, so first up I have a few books that are not actually set in space, or the majority is not, and these will all work for GALAXYATHON. So I thought that may be a good place to start and a little less intimidating. So we have Armada by Ernest Cline. This is by the author of Ready Player One, which we all love and adore. I think this is a very underrated, underlooked book. It is not as good as Ready Player One, but I loved it so much. I think I actually wound up reading this one first. So in this one you're following Zach Lightman, and he is obsessed with sci-fi, video games, and movies and books, and he's kind of always imagining the world, wishing it was more like these things. He's particularly obsessed with this one video game, and one day he like walks outside or looks out his window and he sees this alien spaceship in real life that is exactly identical to one that he plays in his video game, and chaos and fantasticness ensues from there. This has a ton of like 80s and 90s nostalgia, just like Ready Player One, science fiction books and movies and games and things. So we've got all of that goodness in here. Our main character is so fun to follow. We've got things to do with aliens as well, which is always a blast. But this is mostly set on Earth, so you have a lot of normal things happening as well. And I feel like it's pretty easy to follow, like it's just the right amount of technical. And I love this so much. I actually feel like I might reread this one soon. Then we have two like space training books that are also set mostly on Earth. So we have Dare Mighty Things by Heather Kaczynski. I did this one on audiobook last year for GALAXYATHON. The narrator is, I think, Saskia Marvald. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Absolutely fabulous and fantastic. This is a young adult book. In this one there's a competition for those that are under 25 to compete to get the chance to like go into space. Our main character Cassie is who we're following, and she's 18, and they basically have to undergo this like rigorous kind of astronaut style training, but even more so because they're going to be going to the farthest reaches of space. So there has a lot to do with like survival training and flight training, and it's just really interesting but not too complicated and very, very fun. And the majority of this book takes place on Earth, if not all of it. So it's really easy, a good one to get into. If you love a good like competition, a ragtag team of characters, some found friendships, so good. And this is a duology and I love both books. Next we have The Final Six, kind of a similar premise, except in this one there's basically like apocalypse type thing happening on Earth, and so we're trying to find ways to inhabit other planets. 6 of like the brightest and best, I believe all teens, are chosen to travel to Jupiter's moon and colonize it and start a new life there. In this one you're following 2 teens, mostly Naomi and Leo. Leo is kind of more like athletic, Naomi is kind of more scientific, and they're doing this whole thing, but they're also kind of worried. The last mission that we had established as the government to do this kind of journey failed and a bunch of people died, and so they're kind of nervous about it, and you're following them and you're learning things, and there's like a mystery aspect. Again, there's a little bit of a competition aspect going, and it is so good. I don't even know which one of these I like more, but I liked them both. Again, I did this one on audio I think 2 years ago, and I loved the audio. I enjoyed the second one as well. This is also duology. Highly recommend. Alright, then we have Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. Claudia Gray's writing is like simple in the best way, but not too simple. So it's very easy to follow and it's very fun, but it's also like extremely captivating and her characters are so lovable. In this one, you're following a soldier rebel, Nomi, and she's trying to protect her planet, Genesis, no matter what the cost. And then you're following Abel, who is actually an AI boy that has been abandoned in space and left alone for years. And when Nomi uncovers him, this whole thing happens. We got a little bit of a love story in here. This is a full trilogy. It has a tiny bit of like dystopian vibes. This one is set in space pretty much the whole time. It's so good. I love the love story in here. I loved the whole trilogy. It was so fun. Again, I did this one on audio. I loved the narrators for it. Claudia Gray's writing style is fabulous, so highly recommend. One that I talk about a ton and kind of took me by surprise. This is Amid Stars and Darkness by Shani Lynn Feener. I actually found this one at Dollar Tree a couple years ago. Fell in love with the cover and read it 2 years ago for GALAXYATHON, and then fell in love with the book. It is silly and fun and kind of ridiculous, but it just somehow works. It's so cheesy and delightful. So in this world / our world, aliens are just a thing. We know about them. They kind of mingle in with us. And there is an alien princess that is trying to like escape, I think a betrothment or something like that. She comes to Earth and she basically swaps identities with a human girl. Like she changes the look of the human girl and herself. So they mistake this human girl for her when her like guards come to like take her back to her planet. And so they take up this girl, and this girl is just thrown basically into being an alien princess and kind of talked into maintaining that role. And it is so good. Our main character is so feisty. There's a semi-love triangle in here, and it's just really, really fun. It's kind of silly. You get a glimpse in the alien world and things like that, but it's just overall like really, really fun. It's a little bit kind of like a Guardians to the Galaxy style read, and it's one of my all-time favorites. I love it so much. Then we have one that I'm actually planning on rereading soon because I don't remember a ton about it. I read a ton of space books last year, and so some of them I need to kind of define more in my mind. This is another Dollar Tree find that I wound up getting a bunch of and sending to a bunch of my friends. And I had a couple friends that had never read spacey books before, and they really liked it and thought that it was a good place to start, so I'm including it in this video. Again, we have a young adult duology. We're following our main character, Jo, who's been training to be a cadet in the International Space Academy. She's like trained her whole life to do this certain like mission to leave Earth and be pioneers like on a new planet. But when they do take off, a bunch of things go wrong. Their spaceship gets like messed up, her brother dies, and just all these dangerous things are happening and being uncovered, and she's learning more about the mission that she didn't know. So this one does take place mostly in space, or like the journey to space. And because my friends liked it so much and they hadn't really read anything spacey, I wanted to recommend it in here. But I do plan on rereading this sometime soon so I can finish the duology. And then lastly, we have The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, which is one of my all-time favorite spacey sci-fi reads. This one is so easy to follow. Again, absolutely phenomenal on audiobook. I think Lauren Ezzo is the narrator, if I remember correctly. And this one I read last year for GALAXYATHON. I listened to it in a day. It was so amazing. It's very stressful. So in this book, Romy is the daughter of 2 astronauts, and she was actually born on a spaceship. Her parents were like on this journey to complete this mission for Earth, and they had her on the way and they're training her as well, and they died on this journey, and she has been left alone in space with her only communication being to Earth through emails. The emails are delayed by a year, so it takes her a year to get her correspondence back. She writes every day, but the emails she's getting back are answers to her emails from the year before. So you're following her and like her thoughts, and she's very like naive and doesn't know much about the world other than her spaceship because that's where she's grown up. This is very emotional. Like, it is very stressful. She's got a lot of anxiety. There's so many different things that happen along the journey, and NASA alerts her that there's going to be another ship that is more advanced that's going to be able to catch up to her in a few weeks' time. So she gets very excited about the prospect of meeting these new people, and she corresponds with someone on the ship back and forth, and she's starting to feel less lonely. This will take you through all the emotions, all the feelings. It's stressful, it's action-filled, it's emotional, it's beautiful. I loved it so much. Highly, highly recommend. But this is like an intense style read. It's still very easy to follow, but there are a lot of high stakes. So highly recommend this one. This was almost my favorite read of 2022. Okay, you guys, so those are just a few to start you off. I have tons of other recommendations if you want to delve a little bit more. Again, check out all the videos I've linked down below. Don't forget to check out all the information about Galexyathon. Follow me on Instagram as well. At The Bright Side Girl, I'll be doing a Galexyathon giveaway on there during the readathon and hosting a lot of the prompts and things on there. All the information will be down in the video. I'd love to have you join. You don't have to do anything but read one space book in a 2-week span, but there are challenges and things as well if you want to push yourself a little bit more on your reading goals. So let me know if any of these sound good to you. If you're going to try any of them for the readathon, let me know if you're participating down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time on The Bright Side.